computer. Yeah.
It's the global elite, Nathan. They're getting to you, man. They got to shut you down. You guys are becoming so successful.
That's a Jamie.
That they're just going to start shutting down the show.
That's a Jamie line. They're trying to shut me down.
No?
It was a hardware failure in this case.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, we're back on. Okay, right. Well, I'll start the show then. Hi, Pillbox. Hi, Earth Flattener.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Zinda, Unorthodox, Sleeping Warrior, Neil, Pillbox, Jose, Earth Flattener, and Arwin. Very good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
What up, players?
Yeah, that's some serious crashing.
Your computer caught fire?
Yeah, a little bit of smoke came out the top and it all gave up.
Did it melt into a pool of plastic?
Yeah, it's now at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. Melted
All the way to the center, damn.
Yeah,
So it's
got
like
very hot.
a uranium meltdown. Did you have a uranium core?
It was
in your
disastrous. No, I think it was just too many programs open and me fiddling with too many different things all at once. Having been used for a movie box from my wife and kid this morning, so I think probably something to do with that.
It had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, it went, I can't cope. You're asking
too much.
Too much. So, got Plain Truth. Is that really you? Plain Truth? Please, God, let it be so.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not going to melt down next, are you, Nathan?
Me? I never have a meltdown.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm good. Life is sweet.
Hey, Nathan, did you see how ironic when my wife bought me?
What did she get you?
Look at my camera. Look what she bought me.
A little globe. How nice.
A little globe. I know, man.
Did you say,
What's going on around here? But the funny part is that she also bought this little thingy, and it says laugh. It goes in the laugh section. So every time I want to have a laugh, I take a look at this, and I go like, ha, 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 you know.
Gotcha.
Are you going to go smash it in Walmart? When there's some video recently, these flat earthers were smashing globes inside Walmart.
Jose, did it have the sticker on underneath saying this globe is not for educational uses?
Yes, it did have it, and she took it out. She took the sticker out. I go like, how dare you taking the sticker out? She said, oh, it was because it's sticking out a little bit of the little thing is sitting, so she took it out. I go like, damn it.
It's religious indoctrination.
That's all the proof you need right there. It had a sticker on the bottom.
Yeah, it's kind of laughing at us. We see it as we see the humor in it.
Yeah, she was speaking of me. Well, that's good. Good spirit, you know. She got me going.
So,
is she a flat earther also?
She's an I don't care earther. She let me do my thing, you know.
Okay.
So was it Neil that was talking before about density?
No. TK.
Zender and TK were talking.
No, he's not here, is he, that guy?
No, he was bringing up a vacuum chamber. You know, how come your explanation doesn't account for things falling at the same rate in the vacuum chamber? So
he can't figure out the link. He's trying to figure out how to get the link. I sent it to him.
Who TK is?
Zender.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm here.
Zinder, you were showing us the feathers falling in the vacuum, and they were falling just as fast as a solid object, just like when my toaster pops up toast. How does my toaster work on a flat Earth? Would be my next question.
Doesn't matter.
Perfect
This
obfuscation.
question is completely stupid, but
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. You're using something in a vacuum, though, Zinder, right? We don't live in a vacuum, right?
well,
So
but
what?
we can observe things in vacuums.
Do we live in a vacuum, though? I don't
So
know.
the rest didn't listen what I said because it was in the other hangout. My point was I have a bottle full of sand, one liter bottle full of sand. I have a 1 liter bottle half full with sand. So I let those things fall in a let's say 10 feet high.
Because the camera's on.
Sorry. Oh, okay. So I let those things fall in a 10 feet high, let's say in a thing out of water, for example. So I get it why it should fall. So the water, the density is different in the bottle and in the water, right? Right, Anthony? Oh, he's here. Perfect.
There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, it's kind of disturbing.
Who's making all that noise? Hey TK, good to have you.
Thank you.
So TK, I don't know how far we got before it all went off. Now that Arwin's back in, would you talk to Arwin and talk to him about this? What causes the pressure?
Wait a minute, Zinder, you were done? That was all you had to say, Zinder?
I can continue because.
Okay, I want to make sure that everybody understands your statement. Things fall different in a vacuum box, which means I can't understand the flat Earth. Go ahead.
I didn't get here right now. So as I said, you have a pool of water 10 feet high. You let a bottle fall that is denser than the other. So the difference in time they both hit the ground will be pretty high. So let's say, I don't know, 10 seconds or something like that. If you do the same thing, you go 10 feet high and let it fall in the normal air, like at sea level, the difference in time they will hit the ground will be significantly less from each other than in the water, because because of air resistance and water resistance is of course different. So you go on Mount Everest, where the air pressure is much less than on sea level. You do the same thing, and you can observe that those two things will fall at almost exactly the same time they will hit the ground.
So what?
So now we remove the air, and what I don't get is if the relative density to each other is the reason for the speed things fall, why do things fall in a vacuum chamber at exactly the same rates? Why?
Because it's not relative to each other, it's relative to the medium it is in, and you are removing the very thing that you are measuring the buoyancy or density of. It's relative to the medium, air, water, not vacuum.
Yeah, but those two objects have a different density. You know, I thought
there's no medium anymore. You've made the medium value 0.
Yeah, there's no medium anymore. So it's
so they shouldn't be falling, right?
These two things will fall at very different rates through water. But if I remove the water, who cares? Well, then you're not measuring how things move through the medium of water, not even medium of air. You're just removing the medium altogether. And saying, look,
Nathan, are you saying that when I take the Red October submarine out of the water, it won't float?
Correct.
Debunks y'all.
Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, submarines are fake. Okay.
No, listen. Unorthodox said, what was the last thing he said, Unorthodox?
I was just saying that debunks your whole medium. It's just density and buoyancy explanation. I mean, that pretty much debunks it right there. There should be a difference in the rate they're falling because their densities are different, or they shouldn't fall at all in a vacuum.
Are you deaf? The densities are different, and the rates of fall are different in the relative mediums we discussed, water or air. Whereas when you remove the medium, what a shock, they fall at the same rate because there's no bloody medium. So you're saying
they still
that
have a relationship
no
to each other,
resistance.
Nathan.
What does that prove?
Guys, if you remove the medium, there's no resistance.
Correct. And there's also a 0 value for the density.
But the relative density to each other, you can't remove that, you know?
Exactly.
Right, Zinder, let me ask you a question real quick, Zinder, before anybody loses any more brain cells. Do aircraft fly faster at high altitude or lower altitude?
High altitude. Pillbox, hold on. He's just doubled down and reasserted it. So I'll accuse you of doing what the other guys do. Don't piss it back in our face. Did you not understand that I explained that we're not measuring relative to the two items, the two bottles, the two rocks? It's relative to the medium. Are you going to acknowledge that or piss it back in my face a third time when you tell me how it's relative to the two items you're dropping in a vacuum?
So what is relative to the medium, the object?
The relative density versus the medium it is in.
Yeah, so one thing is dense and the medium is less dense, so the medium falls. Okay. Yeah. I get it.
Why isn't the atmosphere separated in layers then, right? We have like 5 different gases, all different densities.
Question can
shouldn't that be kind of separated in different layers?
Who cares?
It is.
Well, I guess that's a problem for gravity, since gravity is supposed to pull on the denser items, right? Why aren't they? Why do we have clouds? What does gravity have a problem with clouds? Can you explain that?
Less dense than the air it's in.
The air.
Do you know that clouds have weight, though? Clouds have weight, right?
Yeah,
and there's right.
Air also has weight.
Yeah, the clouds.
Right. So what? Right, they're not all separating, right? They're accumulating.
The clouds are less dense, dude.
Okay, so let's back to the medium. So Zinder, and I don't know why you're asking for me, Anthony, when Nathan's talking. So Zinder, do planes travel faster in high altitudes or low altitudes?
They travel faster at high altitude because they have less air resistance, but they still need oxygen.
You got it. Look at that. He got it, Nathan. There we go. Okay, I guess I'm done.
I don't understand what you're proving at all. You're just basically kind of making a jackass.
Well, if you take away the medium, there's no resistance. Is this really that complicated?
Yeah, I know.
So why is it falling then? If this shouldn't be falling then?
Because they have weight.
It's in.
Oh, they have weight.
They have weight.
Wait. They have weight, you said. Okay. Now you brought up weight.
Yes, they have weight, right? Do you want to call it mass? Do you want to say it's magnetism? Or do you want to say it's gravity? They have weight, right?
So you're calling the weight the cause of the displacement?
No,
okay, guys,
for the love of God. How
There's
many
an
times
up
do we have
and
to
a
say
down,
relative
right?
density?
You threw out weight with the whole density and buoyancy. You threw out weight with that, so you don't get to bring weight back.
Oh God, it's going to rumpus the hell out of me. Relative density. You can have a kilogram of cork. It weighs a kilogram, and it'll travel through the air. Exactly the same as, let's say, a kilogram bowling ball. Yeah, so they both travel through the air at relatively different rates until they hit water, a different medium. And then what do you know? The kilogram bowling ball still keeps going through that medium because it's relative density that causes it to carry on going, not weight.
Why is it going down?
There's a magnetic pull, right? So there's a magnetic pull. I mean, you want to call it gravity. If it was gravity, boats wouldn't need anchors, though. When a boat goes to a dock, you have to tie it or you have to drop an anchor because the mass isn't attracting it.
No, you
This
drop
is a mind-numbingly stupid.
I know, because it's reality. That's why boats need anchors, right? Why is it that things float away from the shore? If you had gravity, if it was mass, okay, you wouldn't need things to actually be tied down by the shore. I mean, boats need anchors.
Waves.
Yeah, the only reason for an anchor is to stop it from drifting.
Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't drift, Anthony, if gravity was real. Duh. We would just magnetize. It would just gravitate.
Guys,
no.
I'm not sure what point you're making at the minute, to be honest.
The point is that mass does not cause a gravitational pull, Anthony. You understand that, right? That's the whole point of gravity. They claim that mass causes some sort of gravity.
To cause.
Okay, show me one example of something of dense mass causing a gravitational pull that's not being used with magnetism. Take your time. Good luck.
Drop your pencil, dude.
There is no examples of anything with a gravitational
pull. Exactly. Drop my pencil. You can't demonstrate it, so then you presuppose. We're back to square one. Thanks for playing.
I'm not presupposing anything. I'm saying
you presuppose. You just did. You said drop your pencil. You can't demonstrate a piece of mass attracting something, so you say drop your pencil.
Drop your pencil.
You can't do it. Exactly. You
presuppose towards the most massive
it's not caused
object
by mass.
around.
Right, it's not caused by mass.
What's beneath your feet, dude? What's beneath your feet?
Okay, show me. Okay, have you ever gone to the gym and seen weights getting stuck together because they were mass? The heavier weights get stuck together when you go to the gym.
Rumpusing the hangout.
Man, you need some life experience, boy.
Rumpusing the
Let me
hangout.
tell you what, you got to get off the internet and get some life experience.
You're both going to get kicked out. Hello. Hello. I'm going to kick you both out.
Make a little hop.
All right. Another
what a
dots.
retard.
Right. Finally, got some control. You say you drop a pencil. Is the relative density of a pencil more or less than the air?
Nathan, you're basically... So what happens when you remove the air? It shouldn't do anything by your logic. But it does. It still falls.
Hold on. Let's just... Hold on. One asinine point at a time. So where can I experience this no air situation? For dropping
well, you can build a chamber, like maybe in your kitchen.
Oh, so it's not just as... So, dickhead, it's not just as simple as dropping a pencil. I've got to build a bloody vacuum chamber, have I? Idiot.
No, you're talking about making a vacuum chamber.
What, to remove the medium?
Yeah.
Why? We're talking about things and their relative density in the medium they are in. You want to censor reality just like Rumpus. You want to suck the living daylights out of reality, don't you? By building little chambers. No.
What's wrong with that?
You live in air. You drop pencils through air and their density is greater. Simple.
So, have you guys came up with some equations for this or anything at all? Or are you just...
For dropping a pencil...
It's called the definition of neutral buoyancy. It clearly describes it. It's
so
the weight of the the density of the object against the density of the medium it's in. That's it. Nothing more complicated. No complicated maths. Nothing. Straightforward.
No complicated maths. It doesn't have to be complicated. Math can be
all
simple.
Right, there's no maths at all. It's just the density of the medium against the density of the object. That's it.
Okay, so you could get a relationship there, and you could determine how fast it should fall without the medium.
Yeah, it's relative.
Who cares? It's about the medium. If the definition includes how it behaves in the medium, why on earth would you want to remove it, unorthodox? Why would you want to suck the medium
to make sure that your theory is true, Nathan?
Sorry,
why
what theory? This isn't a theory. It's a fact of life, you idiot.
You could come up with some equations.
Don't need any equations. It is a fact of life. You don't need to qualify this any further. It's a fact.
You do, because basically what you're saying is it behaves exactly like we see and which gravity describes. So you're basically taking something that gravity describes perfectly, and you're saying it's not that, it's this other thing, but it acts exactly the same.
No, we didn't describe anything. You've just introduced this word gravity like it has any bearing whatsoever on objects of mass being... I don't fucking get it. It just drives me nuts why you are such an obfuscator of this. Is it because it doesn't sink in?
I make a point, Nathan.
I don't think he gets it.
No.
Yeah, you guys are basically taking something and you're describing it exactly the way gravity describes it, and you're saying, no, it's not gravity, it's this.
We're applying...
There's no point of contention. You can't prove one or the other.
Unorthodox, we're applying the definition of neutral buoyancy. That's all we're doing.
Well, that's what gravity calls for. Neutral buoyancy is a term
gravity doesn't call for
out of the proper...
Gravity doesn't talk about density. Gravity talks about gravity, this attractive force between objects.
If there's consequences and equations that come out of that, like buoyancy. Buoyancy is due to gravity. There's a pressure difference at the bottom of my floor and at the top of my ceiling.
Buoyancy is due to the relative density. It says it in the definition.
But neutral buoyancy is a condition in which a physical body's average density is equal to the density of the fluid in which it is immersed.
What about the other two?
So that means things would be floating.
What about
so you just read out the definition, so he's obviously capable of Wikipedia or something, and it didn't include the word gravity.
Yeah. So what about the other two types of buoyancy, please? Like negative one particularly. What does that say?
What? Give me the names. What are you talking about?
Buoyancy.
Negative buoyancy. That doesn't sound like that's a real thing. I'm curious.
There's three types of buoyancy. There's neutral buoyancy, positive buoyancy, and negative buoyancy.
Okay, negative buoyancy. An object that floats in water is known as being positively buoyant.
Yeah, negative buoyancy.
Sinks to the bottom is negatively buoyant.
Right. And what does it describe?
Yeah, that comes out of the whole foundation of Newtonian gravity.
Excuse me, hillbilly, that's not what it said. Don't insert your hillbilly nonsense into the definition. You've just read it. Now you're laughing and telling us what it is. Don't! You just read it. It didn't include any of your aside bullshit. Don't add your nonsense.
I'm telling you that that's where it came from.
Don't tell us! What part of that don't you understand? We don't need a hillbilly to tell us what it says in a definition after you've read it. Okay?
I'm not telling you what the definition says.
You just said, I'm just telling you. So, yeah, you are, and I'm telling you not to. So, I'm telling you, don't.
Unorthodox.
What?
Do you have a natural occurring vacuum?
Yeah, when I pop my fingers, right? That's coming from a vacuum, correct?
No, I mean a place or...
Oh, do I have a built one? No, I don't have one that's built in my home, no.
No, if it's not manufactured by us humans, I don't think there is a vacuum.
Well, I mean, that doesn't regard the fact that you could make one and you could learn something about the environment in which we live, the world in which we live.
No, that wouldn't be science. That would be observations of the natural world. We don't have toaster theories and lawnmower scientific experiments. Okay?
Listen. By using a vacuum as a reference place, you are removing the relative medium that you should be comparing it to, not contrasting it to.
I'll say it again. You guys are just taking a concept that came out of Newtonian physics, and you're basically calling it your own and saying...
So when I said don't just assert it, having read the definition 3 times, you're just going to piss it back in our face again? What hillbilly dickhead here thinks, because he says it, no.
Anthony,
F equals ma was 400 years ago. That's the birth of modern physics. That's where this idea came from.
What, the idea of the definition that you've just read, it doesn't say that in the definition, you stupid idiot. You read it.
So what? Why would it...
Oh, so what? So hillbilly here can just assert it afterwards. Yeah, that's what so what. Don't. Just because you say so doesn't make it so. I can just say anything I like, having read a definition, and say, well, it actually comes from this, because I say so. But I'm not going to allow that.
We're talking about something completely different, Nathan. There's a definition, then there's something called history.
Oh, really? Well, if you want to dig out the history referenced in the definition, I'll listen to it. Is it referenced in the definition?
Why would it be?
Why would it be? Because then it would be part of the definition, as you assert, hillbilly.
When have you ever looked up a word and it told you the history of the word?
Do you want to do that with the definition?
Has that ever happened in your life?
Do it with the definition. You take us through it word by word and give us the history and get us to that Newtonian physics that you assert.
While you're looking around unorthodox, I would like to mention something. So, a force, and they say a natural force, that is in everything and controls everything. We can't measure it. Nobody has ever measured it or put it into account in our daily lives or in whatever we're doing. And the first guy who ever mentions something like a force or gravity, let's say, is Newton. And all he did is measure the speed of which an object falls through this medium, which is air. The acceleration and the speed it goes to is limited by the medium itself. If it goes through water, it's a whole different level of measuring and pressure and buoyancy, etc., etc. Watch a bullet go through the air, then go through the water. You're gonna see a big difference.
Yeah, because
will you present my screen, Nathan? I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, why don't you tell us what you're going to tell us? Tell us what you show us before you show us.
Yeah, precisely.
I'm just going to show you the equations that govern how buoyancy
works. Don't care about the equations, dude. Care about the evidence that proves the assertion's true.
That's what this is.
No, that's mathematics. We're talking about the natural world. So what's
F equals ma is Newtonian gravity. That's where it came from. F equals ma is like the oldest known physics equation.
Rather than listening. What we're dealing
that's how you define buoyancy.
If you're going to rumpus me, I'll just tell the audience because you don't want to listen. That's what ignorant people do. Talk continually when they should listen. We are asking for explanations about the natural world that we live in. That falls under the category of science. What you are giving us is mathematics. We don't want mathematics.
I'm proving that your concept...
No, you're not proving. If you want to prove something that occurs in the natural world, you need to establish a cause and effect relationship with scientific hypothesis followed by systematic experimentation, not mathematics.
Can I get a concession?
On what? What point?
That your buoyancy ideas come from Newton and Newtonian gravity.
They don't.
Yes, they do.
They don't.
They absolutely do.
Compression, neutral buoyancy. That's the starting point. In there, we don't talk about forces. We talk about a state, and it's relative. We don't talk about forces.
Then you're not really describing the world properly.
So can we have the concession from you that we're not talking about Newtonian gravity?
You are, though.
But we're not. We're talking about
those concepts are derived from
relative density, mate. Nothing.
You guys didn't come up with that on your own. That's not an original idea.
Well, no, we're using your science against you. That's the problem. Not maths.
No, you're not, though. You just...
Maths describes things, science explains things. Now, you may be able to describe something with mathematics, but we'd rather have an explanation for it. That's why we're asking for science.
You wanted me to prove the history of it, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I don't
care
we didn't actually
about
what you prove in history. We're
That's what
talking
Nathan
about
did.
the natural world.
Yeah, we live in the natural world. Everything's natural, Nathan.
That's right.
Everything.
Yeah. Unless it's man-made, in which case it's not. But if it's
why is it not? It's still there. It's still in the, if a monkey makes a mud ball, is that not natural?
No, it's been manipulated, hasn't it?
If ants build a hill where they live in, is it natural?
Maybe, I don't know. That's a moot point.
Yeah, you see, either everything is natural and the thing we do, or nothing is natural, because as soon as we start interacting with something, you can say it's not natural anymore. So we couldn't make any experiment at all.
Yeah, I mean, you've interacted with the atmosphere.
No, let's just get that clear. Tim Osmond tried that shite as well. What we do in science is observe natural phenomena. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't experiment using man-made equipment. It means that the phenomena you are observing and trying to cause with an independent variable occurs in the natural world. It is a naturally occurring phenomena. That is what you are looking at. Why? Because we're studying the natural world, not made or caused by man. Because if it's caused by man, then that's your cause. No need for science. You're trying to establish cause and effect. And if man's caused it, then there's your bloody cause, idiots. Man. Okay?
That's not what we're talking about, Nathan. Like the Foucault pendulum, right?
Yeah, that would be a man-made parlor trick. So when you're trying to establish cause and effect, man made it. There's your cause, dickhead.
No, man doesn't cause the pendulum to swing, Nathan.
Oh, excuse me. Where do we observe naturally occurring pendulums?
Start swinging.
No. Where do we observe naturally occurring pendulums, idiot?
Well, there's some vines behind my house. They're swinging right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
They're pendulums. Sorry, did you not hear the word pendulum?
It could be wind. Right?
Sorry, did you not hear what I asked for? You've just said some vines. Where do I observe... Don't talk, listen. Where do I observe naturally occurring pendulums? Do you know what a pendulum is? Where do I observe one in the natural world?
One end and it swings at the bottom. There's some vines behind my house that are fixed at the top and they're swinging at the bottom.
Don't give me hyperbole. Give me a location.
You want my GPS coordinates?
For a naturally occurring pendulum.
I told you there's some vines behind my house.
Those would be vines. Do you understand what the word pendulum means? Are they swinging vines? Are they swinging vines in the Cavendish experiment, or are they swinging a pendulum?
Well, all I know is there's some vines out in my backyard.
Oh, I just know there's vines outside because I don't know where naturally... It's not naturally occurring, idiot. It's man-made.
That doesn't matter, Nathan.
Oh, really? Well, we are talking about science. It may not matter to a religious zealot who thinks he lives on a spinning ball, but to us who are seated in reality, we care whether or not it's natural. Because if it's not natural, it's caused by man, like a pendulum.
So how could... So let me ask you
Don't ask me a question. Say, I understand. Pendulums are man-made. therefore not needing science.
And it rotates without
you're
somebody
not going to
touching
accept
it.
this.
How has man caused
We're
that?
moving on, are we?
Smack him with
We're
your
moving on,
banjo.
are we, idiot?
Smack him with your banjo.
We are
How has
dealing
man
with...
caused that?
No, let's get a concession. We are dealing with the natural world, not made
So what?
or caused by man. Correct?
So what?
So your pendulum doesn't count.
Why not? Why can't? So you can still prove something with it.
I'll say
it
it
might
nice
not
and slow.
fit the definition of science, Nathan.
Slow. I'll say it slowly.
Definition of science.
I'll say it slowly. I'll say it
step.
slowly. It's all right. Yeah, hillbilly. I'll say it nice and slowly. It's made by man. There's your cause.
Nathan,
man
I can't.
Made it. Okay, it's made and caused by man. Don't need to observe a phenomena because your phenomena was caused by man.
Not true at all.
Oh no, we have naturally occurring vines. Oh right, yeah, that's what they're experimenting on, aren't they, when they swing that pendulum? Yeah, they're looking at vines, aren't they, retard?
Can we talk about a...
No, we can talk about whether or not science is observing the natural
Let's talk about
world
a specific
or
example,
not.
Nathan.
And until I hear you say
Let's
yes,
talk about a specific example.
Yeah, until I hear you say,
And you
I
can
understand, Nathan. We're dealing with the natural world here. And when we look at something man-made, we can establish firmly that it's made and caused by man, therefore not requiring scientific validity. It's made and caused by man. There's your cause.
Let's talk about a specific example.
No, we're not
No.
moving past this, retard, until you
Unorthodox.
concede.
The reason why it's a problem is because it falls outside the definition of science and it makes it pseudoscience. That's the problem.
So let me ask you this. What if you apply the exact same methodology?
Don't ask us anything. Say, I understand. I might be stupid. It might take an hour, but I finally got it. We're not dealing with man-made stuff when we talk about science. We're dealing with the natural world. Until I hear those words,
Your
we're going to
definition's
keep
wrong,
telling
Nathan.
you, hillbilly,
Definition
until
of
you
science,
get it.
dude.
No, it's
Until
not.
you get it.
This.
No, it's not.
Look it up.
Absolutely. Show me some scientific authority that says you can't study anything but just completely things that are untouched by man. Show me one.
Just look up the definition of science. Any definition of science.
You guys are misunderstanding the definition. Any scientist on the face of the earth will tell you that. I don't need to.
Right, you do,
Unorthodox.
because you're being ignorant.
Unorthodox.
Yes.
You believe in gravity, right?
Yes, I did the Cavendish experiment myself in university.
Okay, wait.
I can drop my pencil right now.
So,
Did you do it with the banjo?
Neil, wait, Arwen. So Neil says, and this is, he said, we don't know what gravity is, we just know its effects. So they don't know what actually gravity is, but they made all these experiments, devices that measure it in the universe, and they still don't know what it is. Okay, no problem. No problem. Let's say it's a force, but all they know is the effects, and the effects they're saying that it's caused by gravity is all caused by density. It's either density or pressure or magnetism. You can find all the attributes. Something is revolving around something, orbiting. You can find it in electromagnetism. Things go down by density and buoyancy. Do you see where I'm going? All the effects, all the effects, you can find it in other things. You don't need gravity. They just put gravity and took some of the traits from other forces and said this is gravity. But you can find it all explained by other things: electromagnetism, pressure, buoyancy, and so on.
Buoyancy is a product of gravity. You can measure electromagnetism, and pressure is a concept that's derived from gravity as well. So you'd have to.
It's fictional, man. Come on.
It's fictional. I'm an engineer. We build buildings, physical objects with those principles. So that
we never. How come?
It's real.
I take care of 5 to 6 aircrafts a day. I never calculate gravity, and nobody does.
What if you were an engineer?
I am.
I want to hear the definition of science. Unorthodox. Go.
Designing the plane. You're working on it. If you were designing the plane, you would absolutely be using Newtonian equations. You would be looking at gravity. You would be looking at stresses from gravity. In order to build that aircraft, you have to apply Newtonian gravity, Newtonian mechanics, all the equations that came from
Do you
that.
think the Wright brothers did that when they made their first plane?
They didn't make a fighter jet that's capable of going, 1,200 miles per hour and
Did they
banking
take
3
into
Gs.
account all the things you just said when they made their first plane or not?
I just answered your question.
The answer is no, they didn't. They tested it and it didn't
So
work.
what?
They tested it again.
So what? Was that proved?
Not
What does that
true.
prove?
Your
That proved
decision not true.
Debunks what you said.
How does that prove what I said is not true?
Because it's the opposite of what you said.
Because
Okay.
somebody got lucky?
Wait. When they make an airplane, you said they make into account gravity, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, we have.
Let's just stop right there. Sorry to interrupt. So you've just done it again. We've just got to the point where we shattered your illusions about them using this to make aeroplanes, and we pointed out the Wright brothers didn't. You conceded that and says, how does that prove me wrong? And then literally, there's a pause, and then in the next breath, you assert it again. So do we do this again while you piss it in our faces? Right, brothers didn't use it.
Did they design it for a specific task?
Oh, you're going to get shouty now, are you? No need, my friend. We've just demolished your argument. How does this prove you're wrong? Because you're wrong. That's how it proves you're wrong. You're just a moron, and you're going to literally piss it in our faces again. How dare you?
How does that prove anything, Nathan? So what? What's your point?
So what? You're wrong. So what? We've demolished your argument. So what? Yeah, when people lose really badly, they say, so what?
How does that prove I'm wrong?
Because they didn't use it.
So what?
So
I can make a paper.
wrong. So they didn't use it, as you've just asserted. So you're wrong. Not so what? So you are wrong. As always. You're just an idiot.
If you want to design it to do a specific task,
I'm sick of you.
Then it needs to be engineered. Let me repeat this. If you design it to do a specific task,
Shut up.
Then it needs to be engineered. I can make a paper airplane right now.
Hold on,
The fact that I can make a paper
1 second.
airplane
Oh
and
my
toss it
God.
across the room doesn't disprove anything. That's basically what you're saying. Do you know how stupid that sounds?
Listen.
Unorthodox, do you think you're gonna win a point because you talk nonstop and raise your voice? No,
I can't get a
it's
point
not gonna get you
across
nowhere,
because he
bro.
won't let me. This is the only way I
But you
can get
gotta
a point
talk and
across.
let talk. Don't continue talking.
Right, first warning, Unorthodox.
He won't let me get my point across unless I do this. So
I'm just going to kick you out, make room for someone else, because you're just rumpusing because you've lost.
Oh, am I? I'm sorry. You can't handle debate, Nathan.
Nathan, before he gets kicked, will you just get get him to show the definition of science on screen? He took issue with the nature of it before, and I think that's a little bit dodgy, given that he's not even looked at it.
Pound says he says it's on his phone and he can't
I'm
present
an
anything.
engineer, sleeping warrior.
Pound says he says he's on
You're
his
not an
phone and
engineer.
can't present a damn thing to back any of his assertions.
You are not an engineer.
Unorthodox.
What are you basing that on?
Unorthodox. Okay, look. They make an airplane, okay, a Boeing or whatever. It has a weight, right? Let's call it weight. It has a specific weight. It's empty, nothing's in it, okay? They bring somebody buys this aircraft, a company, and puts it into use. They put luggage, they put fuel, etc. People get in there. So that's added weight. There's now more mass to the aircraft, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we calculate for that added gravity?
Calculate for the added gravity.
Yeah, it has now. It has more mass.
We do.
As
That's
you
the
say.
weight. That's the weight.
Yeah. Okay.
So we are calculating for that. The weight is the gravity. The
No,
weight is an effect of gravity.
Only in maths.
Yeah. Okay. But we didn't calculate for almost doubling the weight of the aircraft. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Design it. It has a cargo capacity. They know how much weight they can put in it. They know how much mass of fuel it takes. They know how it's distributed. They know how much stress the materials can take.
believe me, if I mess up the calculation by just adding 100 kilos or 200 kilos of fuel into the aircraft, they're going to have to remake the calculations again. Just adding 100 kilos of fuel.
No, they wouldn't have done that originally
that?
whenever they designed the aircraft.
They're designing the aircraft and it comes out of the manufacturer with a specific weight. They call it zero weight. Okay. Yeah, after that,
completely
you fill it. Yeah, you fill it up with everything. Now it has another weight. Why don't we calculate for the gravity, additional gravity or effects?
They do. If they hadn't calculated that when you put fuel in the airplane's wings, they would have fallen off. I mean, if they didn't calculate for that, they calculate that, it wouldn't fly properly. It wouldn't be able to handle it. There would be a lot more stress that they didn't intend to. The wings would buckle.
All I'm saying is they don't account for gravity. We never do.
But they do.
Can I ask
okay.
a question?
I'm university across the world. If you look at it, aeronautical.
I'm in the industry. I'm in the industry, my friend. I'm in the industry.
You're on the other side of it. You're not on the engineering side.
Sorry.
You have to take
Bear with me a second.
Well,
Sorry,
I'm the one who takes care of the airplane before it flies.
Yes. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying you're not privy to all the information that engineers are. You're not designing the ship.
Are you one of those engineers unorthodox?
How much?
Are you one of those engineers unorthodox?
I'm a mechanical engineer, which is very similar to aerospace. They kind of cross over. Same with civil.
Okay, I am
aerospace. They all kind of overlap a little bit.
I'm in the aerospace engineering industry, and for a while now. So I think I should have noticed. They call it aerospace, but it's not.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Go into engineering program and look at what things they study.
Oh, shit.
Gravity's absolutely in there.
Shut up, unorthodox.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah.
TJ.
TK,
sorry. Before Nathan's PC crashed, we were at the point where we were discussing one of the issues that Arwin, in my opinion, doesn't get. And whilst he's on the panel, I'd like you to talk to him about this specific point. We were talking about a column of air and how the column of air above you, or liquid or whatever, has different densities to it, and that brings with it its own weight or mass or whatever word you want to describe, but it's a downward acceleration force or a downward pressure. Now, one of the things that Arwin states is that this downward pressure can't be explained with density and buoyancy alone. So what we've got here is we've got on screen, if you can click my fingerprint thing at the bottom of the Hangout, you'll see what I've got on my screen.
Oh, my favorite picture.
Nathan, would you present my screen?
You are.
So I'm going to use number 6, the little ball, the little cherry tomato, as an example, right? As a human on the ground. So just so it's pictorial and we can see it. Now, above the human, the cherry tomato, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 different layers, and we'll call that the atmosphere just for illustration purposes. One of the things that Arwin says is that the density and buoyancy cannot explain what causes the pressure above. Could you explain to Arwin what he's asking, or could you answer his question? What's causing the pressure above?
Basically, the accumulated levels above each point.
Yeah. So if number 2, this top layer of liquid, let's just say that had a weight of 2, anything. It can be 2 elephants, or it can be 2 feathers. I don't care what the unit is. But if it had a weight of something, right? And then we added to it this one that had a weight of, or a value of 3 elephants, for example, and then 4, and then 5, because all of these above you, these all have an accumulation because of their own weight, their own density, their own mass, whatever word you want to use, it's density, right? So when you have these things that are sat on top of this little tomato being the human, you've got the weight of these 4 layers on top of you. Now, Arwin says that this pressure comes from somewhere, and he doesn't accept it comes from the item's own density itself. He thinks it's being pulled down by something or pushed down by something, and he describes this as a force, but he dismisses that it's caused by its own density of its own density. Could you tell him what your views are on that point?
Okay. First thing you have to know, if the liquids don't mix and you turn it upside down, it will reorganize itself the same way.
Correct.
Okay, if they don't mix.
Now, is that point
now
what
the
you just
number?
said? Is that point caused by density and buoyancy, or
Yes.
can density and buoyancy not explain that?
No. Density and buoyancy, definitely.
Can you explain it a little bit?
It just organizes itself. Something's less dense is just gonna go up until it, let's say, number 5 will never mix with number 7.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that order is caused by something specific. It's very specific, as Arwin would say. What is the cause
density,
of that alignment?
Density and buoyancy.
Correct. Arwin, do you disagree with that?
No,
Why do the blood rush to our heads when we stand upside down?
Hang on a minute.
Hold on, Anthony. Hold on. So
Sorry.
Arwin's been engaged in a chat battle, so he's not 100% paying attention, which I'm give him credit for. And say, can you reillustrate the main point to Arwin and then let him respond?
Arwin, do you see number 6, the ball?
No.
Do you see it? Number 6.
I've seen this so many times. Dude.
You guys are just trolling Arwin.
Just try to be conciliatory, Arwin, please.
What? I can't complain about having seen it so many times?
No, I'm just saying play along for a little bit, I beg of you.
Oh, right. 7th, 10th time. Right. Sure. Go.
So the vomit comment pretty much debunks that, though. You guys have seen the videos of the vomit comment where they have different.
Stop interrupting unorthodox.
I was just trying to make your point. Sorry, Arwen. You sound a little, depressed.
Okay. Do you see number 6 and number 7? 7 is the surface at which number 6, the ball, can't penetrate or doesn't, because it has less density and buoyancy than what's under it, or the next level under it. See number 8? The ball will not go to number 8 because it's not denser. So it will be at the bottom of number 7.
Are you watching, Arwin?
Yes.
Yeah, it can only go to the bottom of, which is the surface of number 8. Bottom of number 7.
I've got a question. If you get that cherry and you were to pull it down and we exert a force by hand and pull the cherry down to number position, say 11, what will the cherry then do?
It'll jump up.
It'll go back to where it's come from, right?
Yeah, just like holding inflated beach ball under the water.
Agreed. So when it goes back upwards, right, we could describe that as an upwards acceleration force, right?
In Arwin's term, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm using Arwin's phraseology, an upwards acceleration. Now, one of the things he says is that it's always down, and it's not. We can demonstrate that it goes up. And when we pull the cherry down, because we're using our hand to do it, we are applying a force.
When am I saying that?
You always say it. You always say it.
Right, now Arwin gets a chance to respond to all of this uninterrupted.
Right, so yeah, what you're basically claiming is that mass, and mass is basically a deduction from the density versus the volumic mass, and you are basically claiming, I guess scientifically, that density is basically the source of the force. It is where the force comes out of nothing, just because there is mass there, and just happens to be directional in an alignment for no proper reason, and the things just ordered themselves. And right, so you're claiming it's like a non-gravitational pull Cavendish idea that just so happens to be directional. That's fascinating. Yeah, could be, it's another way to model it out.
Well, the question that you need
It's
to
the
ask
same
is,
effect. There's a disequilibrium there. There is displacement going on.
so
And
Arwin,
that
you
happens to matter when a force is applied.
Arwin,
And if you apply other forces, then yeah, they will displace in accordance to the introduced new force. Yeah, if you counter force with motion, counter motion, then suddenly the density buoyancy layers will no longer set in any alignment and things will free float.
You gonna let him rebuttal, are we?
And even a balloon, helium in it, will be very happy to just sit inside a body of water if the free fall is long enough. Yeah, I would love to test that. But
so
I'm pretty certain that it will, because yeah, there is no more arranging in density layers. There is no more buoyancy effect because the forces that are applied to matter
Long-winded,
are
never
all
an end to
counted.
the
That's
sentence.
it.
To the point.
Yeah, I know. it's so
Okay,
long,
almost
so
got there without
tiresome.
interrupting him. Thank you, Arwin.
So two of the things that Arwin regularly says is that the density buoyancy alignment has a cause, right?
Right.
And you reject that it's the density itself that causes it. Is that right, Arwin?
Well,
so
yeah, when other forces are applied, the alignment changes. So you can't just say, oh, it's just the mass itself, because yeah, why would other type motion, why would that then also be able to cause that? I don't know. It's so contrasting.
So we often have the egg example, and we'll use the egg being number 6, and we'll say that the water that the egg sits in will be this layer that's numbered 7, and it sits in that layer. When we added the salt to the layer of water, it made that egg move, and you said that was the effect rather than the cause. Correct? Is that correct, Darwin?
In a mechanical sense of before and after, yeah.
Okay, so the answer was yes.
In a chemical sense, not in a force spectrum sense.
Okay,
directly
stop speaking.
Exert a force. Oh, well, can't I answer that?
No,
right?
The answer was yes. You gave your answer.
Oh yeah, and then I have to shut up because you just want to hear that yes. You just
because I want to ask it.
Like a dog drooling. You just want that victory, don't you? You don't want to let me finish or give a balanced argument.
Arwin, you were doing so well. Come on.
Right. So when we've got the egg in the water, and then we've got the layer 7, and then we add salt to it, that layer that the egg sits in now becomes 8. It's not 7 anymore. It's become 8. And you can see where the egg sits now in relation to number 8. It sits above it. So if we change the medium density from 7 and it becomes 8, what's going to happen to that egg? It's going to rise, isn't it? Because it doesn't want to be there. It's not in the right place.
It's an inanimate object. It doesn't want anything.
Can you answer the question? We change the medium so that the density increases. This number 7 becomes 8. So what's going to happen to the egg if this becomes 8?
Yeah. Let's see. It's going to rise because the pressure exerted on it in that level is going to be increasing.
But we didn't change the pressure. We changed the density.
Yeah, and that increases the pressure. That's what it does. Increases
the pressure. Can you explain that?
It increases the weight of the entire volume. The volumic mass is raised.
But it's only going to affect the layer that the water was in, right?
If you say so, man.
Because that's what we were talking about. We were talking about the egg in water.
You're just like theoretically putting out there. You're like, oh yeah, that is raised. Fine, okay.
I'm not theoretically.
The ball's going to raise because the pressure of it is going to be greater because its volumic mass.
I'm not saying it's theoretical, Arwin. I'm saying it's empirical. I'm saying that we've changed the density of the water and it's become more dense. But the egg's not changed.
Yeah, I know. So the volumic mass has risen. Thus, the forces already applied to it or any new force introduced will cause greater pressure because the
but we haven't introduced any new force. We haven't introduced any new forces.
Yeah,
everything else was kept the same.
Any forces that are already applied will.
Yeah, but there are no other forces. The
yeah,
only
but if
force
you would,
that's in
then
play,
it would. There's a direct relationship.
No. The
Yeah,
only
it
force
is.
that's in
Yeah, it
play is
is.
in your head.
Hold
it is.
on.
The
hold
pressure
on. It's
will
slowly
increase
descending again.
if
You're
you
doing really
accelerate
well.
in a
Just
car
keep
with
it
it.
one
It will
one
increase
person at a
its
time.
weight.
Arwin, you're even rumpusing me now.
Are you serious? I can't even just give a proper explanation for anything before
That's
you
not what you're doing.
accuse me of
You're going.
rumpusing.
That's not.
What
Hold
the
on,
hell is
Anthony.
this, man?
That's not what you're doing, Arwin. You're going. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, that's rumpusing.
That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I've been silent for like freaking 5 minutes in a row.
Come on, Arwin. All
Now
I'm
I'm
saying
gonna
is just
answer,
let it-
and I can't
just
actually
hear me
answer.
out. Just let it be one and then one, not both of you talking, cutting each other's mics.
So, Arwin, if the layer of water that we've just added salt to becomes more dense, and it now becomes this layer because it's more dense, relative to that layer, the ball has to go up, doesn't it? It has to displace.
Yeah.
Right. So is that entirely explained by the density, or is there an additional force that's being added that you call pressure that you then call gravity?
Well, if there are no forces applied in other scenarios, well, it's not going to do that. It's not going to care about the density. Free float. So, in a stationary fashion, it will do that, definitely.
So my question is basically, if we can demonstrate that we manipulate the density of number 7 and we make it into number 8, and relative to number 8, that ball sits above it, and it matches what we see in real world, is that not just the answer, and it's totally explained by density and buoyancy?
I already said that you can assume specifically that mass can potentially cause this be the source of the displacement.
Not
That's
potentially,
a very
actually.
specific claim to make.
Not potentially, actually. We watch it happen when we do it.
All right, so you claim that. You claim
Right, so
literally mass
then,
itself is the source of the force that causes it.
So then the following question is, where does the gravity fit into it?
Gravity is simply another explanation for it.
But what, in addition to or instead of?
Instead of.
Okay, so do you want to talk us through that one?
Yeah, force. It is basically assuming that it is a force, even though you can't vary it and scientifically prove it.
So is there a physical interaction?
Can't, right?
Come on, Anthony.
Right? That took you like 10 seconds.
Yeah, but you're using the word force, and there is no force.
Yeah, I know.
The thing is, Arwin,
I'm going to go in a conversation with you if you're going to.
No. I'll stop him from talking over you, Arwin. Fair enough, right? But the thing is, you've already disclaimed, essentially, that you've got nothing, and then you go on to give an explanation about nothing.
Well, if you don't want to hear me,
it's not that I don't want to hear you. You started with the disclaimer, even though I can't prove it and can't demonstrate it. It's not scientifically valid. Well, at that point, that should be the end of your explanation, as far as I'm concerned.
As far as you're concerned, yeah, it's nice.
I'd agree with Nathan, though.
Yeah, that's nice for you. I don't give a shit.
Right. So why can't you just drop it and say, I'll come back with some evidence one day?
That's why.
What?
Because I don't wanna.
So you're being a bitch?
As much as you are being a bitch, yeah?
Arwin, I'm just trying to point out to you that there is a perfectly logical, evidence-based and supported by other people explanation that does make sense, and we can prove it by manipulating it to make it show that it's doing what we're saying that it's doing.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. You've probably done it already. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!